We have a major Duke basketball update as Jon Scheyer and the Duke Blue Devils work to put together the best possible recruiting classes for the future of this program, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Duke Basketball 365. If you are a Duke Blue Devils fan, please hit that subscribe button. Only 35.4% of viewers are subscribed to the channel, and it really helps me out a ton. But let's jump right into what we got for today. Coming from Joe Tipton with On3, he tweeted out, news, 2027 top 30 overall recruit Deng Ngor is down to 4 schools, he tells Rivals. The 6'8" small forward has scheduled official visits to each one of his finalists. Now, you may be asking yourself, who are these finalists? Here we are, the accompanying graphic that Tipton tweeted out. The top 4 for Ngor: Washington Huskies, Florida Gators, Duke Blue Devils, and Ohio State Buckeyes. Those 2 middle schools, we have more to talk about between those 2 a little bit later on in this video. But Deng Ngor has his visit scheduled to Durham, North Carolina for October 15th through 19th. Jon Scheyer has moved Duke into the top 4 by using, of course, the history of the program, his coaching/recruiting skills, and he told Deng Ngor that Scheyer envisions the player as a positionless basketball player. So we're going to figure out what that means, if Deng Ngor commits to the program, because he's listed as a 6'8" power forward, but he would be more of, probably for Duke would be moved to small forward. But when Scheyer says he envisions him as a positionless player, I'm a little bit confused what that means, because Deng Ngor isn't really tall enough to be like a center for Duke, or unless maybe like a Malik Brown small ball center is what Scheyer is envisioning. But we're going to get into the scouting report in a second. And Deng Ngor right now at this stage of his career doesn't have the shooting chops to stick around as a shooting guard. And I wouldn't consider a guy that switches between power forward and small forward as a positionless player. I would view that as a forward. So we're going to see what Scheyer means by that. I'm just going to report all the news, even if I don't fully understand it. But Deng Ngor, 6'8", 200 pounds, from Fort Erie, Ontario. He is, not from the United States, as we can see there. Rated a 4-star by 24/7 Sports, and a 4-star as well by the 24/7 Sports composite grade, aka the consensus. However, you may remember from earlier in this video, Rivals has Ngor listed as a top 30 overall recruit, with 24/7 Sports having him outside of the top 150. This could be a 24/7 Sports being behind. 24/7 Sports could be just way lower on Deng Ngor, but if Duke is going after him, I have to imagine he's a pretty good recruit. So we can see here a big disconnect here from recruiting outlets on where they want to put this guy. And let's jump into the scouting report for Deng Ngor. Scouting report written up by Adam Finkelstein, the director of scouting for 24/7 Sports, talking about how Ngor, played pretty well for 3 SSB, averaging 12 points per game. But where he really stands out was he helped Canada win the gold medal of FIBA U18 Americas. Here's the actual scouting report. Potentially versatile two-way forward who plays with length in the open floor, is bouncy at the rim, and a developing shooting threat. He made only 28% of his threes on just under 4 attempts per game, but was 38% in FIBA play. So potentially growing out and learning how to, the term is developing a 3-point shot. So can that give him the possibility to play some minutes at shooting guard for Duke and give us that positionless player that Jon Scheyer is talking about here? Potentially. That sounds like, putting all these facts together, that sounds like what Jon Scheyer is expecting to happen. He has a soft, natural touch, quick release, and is utilized not just spotting up, but also in pick and pop actions as well. So overall, very well-rounded basketball player here. He's not a guy that, is seemingly locked in on any one thing. He's got a little bit of shooting we think is going to happen. He's got, decent defending, decent hops. Overall, not someone that you lock in on one thing and go, oh, he's really, really good at this. He's going to play that one role for Duke. He's more of a guy that's going to come in, be a moldable block of clay for Jon Scheyer and the Duke Blue Devils coaching staff, and we're going to figure out where he's going to fit later. Recruit the talent, figure out where it fits in when we get him actually in the program. He doesn't have much of a first step off the bounce, but he elongates his strides effectively through the lane and can also be a long jumper. A bit of developing strength, but somewhat oddly proportioned body mechanics with wide/high hips and pretty broad shoulders. So a little bit interesting of a recruit here. The way it works, if Jon Scheyer or whoever is a Duke coach wants the player, you just imagine that guy's a good player. That's how it works. We can lock that in. So this is a player that we heard about not too long ago. About 2.5 weeks was the first time that we heard that Duke was going to be getting involved here. And it's good to see that we are in the Final Four for this player. We're going to continue to keep tabs on him as his recruitment develops. But you have to imagine there will not be an update or a decision date until he takes those visits. I imagine the other college visits are going to be early November, mid to late October as well, where the Duke Blue Devils visit is. So we're going to wait for this a little bit farther down the line. But there is something that I got to bring up here because I found something online that I am positive that I do not like. James Fletcher with On3 put out his preseason college basketball rankings, and I was looking to see if anyone had Duke number 1 over Florida, because I'm looking at the odds, and Duke and Florida are tied for the favorite to win the national championship. Yet I've seen consensus across the board, the Florida Gators ranked over the Duke Blue Devils, which I'm okay with some people putting Florida first, but I'm a little bit confused that Duke is number 1 on 0 people's list. But this was absolutely insane from Fletcher with On3, putting Duke as the number 4 team in the way too early 2026 college basketball rankings. This I absolutely could not believe that I was seeing. Fletcher writes, Duke confirms the addition of John Blackwell after testing the NBA waters, although Isaiah Evans will remain in the draft process. The ability to bring in another top recruiting class, international talent, and incoming transfers will help the Blue Devils rebuild. I mean, I would consider it a reload, not a rebuild. But overall, I was more shocked by this than having any sort of other response where I look at this and think, oh, are they the 4th best team in the country? And then I think absolutely not, because Duke is easily the deepest team in the country, bringing back both Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer, adding to that room Deron Rippey Jr., and the other guard that we add through the transfer portal and John Blackwell. We added forwards. The center position should be amazing with Mayer Gongla coming back and adding Joaquin Boomshay. I mean, I really think with the freshman talent that Duke is bringing in versus the talent that Florida retained, the ceiling, meaning the end of the year, is going to look better than the beginning of the year for the Duke Blue Devils teams, really, really, really high. So maybe Duke doesn't come out the gates as a top team, but can finish as that top program. Now, one of On3's top basketball or national basketball guys is Jamie Shaw, and he actually talked about this ranking exactly and said, nope, I'm definitely higher on Duke than my coworkers here, writing top to bottom, I think Duke is the deepest team in college basketball. Jon Scheyer's group can go too deep across all 5 positions while also sliding players up or down the lineup to provide different looks. Dame Sarr and Pat Gungba turned down NBA draft talk. John Blackwell was one of the most coveted guards in the transfer portal, and Duke brings a top 2 high school recruiting class headlined by Barcelona's Joaquin Boomshay. For me, the Blue Devils are the number 1 team, and I don't think there's really a conversation surrounding it. Now, I read the beginning of this. I saw Jamie Shaw higher on the Duke Blue Devils than number 5 or number 4, wherever his coworker ranked it. That's something I love to see. I did not read that last line until right now. So I guess someone does agree with me by putting the Duke Blue Devils as the number 1 team. Shout out to Jamie Shaw with On3. That's exactly what we're looking for. However, we will have that SEC-ACC challenge between the Duke Blue Devils and the Florida Gators to prove who is the best team in college basketball, at least until we get to April and March Madness. That's what I got for this one. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Go Duke.